and we are clear and ready.
Good evening. It's February 9th, 7 o'clock. The Parks and Rec Board will come to order. Mary, will you please take the roll call for us?
David Downs.
Here.
Jason Branch.
Here.
Ernesto Ruiz Gutierrez. Elizabeth Wyving.
Here.
You're on mute, Mary. You're on mute, Mary. There you go.
Elizabeth Wyving.
Here.
Georgie Ann Keyport.
Here.
Zach Susureg.
Present.
Jalen Destin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We have a quorum. Let's go on to agenda 3. Adopt the agenda. Is there any comments or changes that you would like to see in the agenda for tonight?
I don't have any, Dave.
Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. The agenda is adopted. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, visitors presentation. Are there any visitors out there? Mike on the line?
No, I'm not seeing any other additionals.
Seeing none, we'll close item 4, the visitors presentation, and move on to approve previous minutes of the park board. Item 5A. I wanted to comment on, Mary, this is the most complete set of minutes that I've seen. It was very well done. You know, most times they're a little abbreviated, but this one was very, very informative. And it was well done.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from anybody else on the minutes from the park board December 14th meeting? Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Park board meeting minutes have been accepted. Moving on to item number 6, receive council and planning meeting minutes. Are there any comments or on the minutes from both the council and the 2 that are from the planning board? That's like items 6A through 6F. There was one in the December 21st council meeting. There was a lot of discussions on City Square West, and it looks like that's going to be coming down the pike pretty quickly. At least it's coming down the pike. So I'm sure that'll get us involved in the park that they were looking for as part of the arts in the center of the development. So that's something that we can look forward to. And hopefully
Yeah, so on that, Dave, you know, a developer has been identified, and so it's my understanding that city administration is, they have established a weekly meeting with that developer. You know, that'll continue to occur up until that, you know, gets built out. So as you mentioned, there will be, you know, a public plaza component to that development. So as we know more, that'll definitely come back to the park board for further discussion.
Yeah, Jason was involved with that planning in the past on this. So if it resurrects, I don't know if you're willing to jump into that seat again, Jason, to be able to participate in the planning, but it would be great if you could.
Ready and willing, David. Ready and willing.
Cool. Any other comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, we don't need a vote on this thing. We'll receive the council and planning meetings minutes. Moving on to item 7, discussion items. Let me turn it over to you, Marshall. 7A being the Arts Consortium.
Great. Thanks, Dave, and the rest of the commissioners. So yeah, I wanted to provide an update on the Arts Consortium, just knowing, this is a newer partnership that we've embarked on. And, we'll probably continue to have some updates as this partnership grows, over the course of time here. But just to kind of, frame things up here, the lease agreement and the memorandum of understanding that accounts for the partnership on programming. As you recall, that was approved by City Council back on December 21st. And so throughout this month of January has really been a lot of the setup type of discussions to get things situated for us to kind of account for things going forward. So as it relates to the gift shop area, which falls more under that lease agreement, we've established basically a permit within our software system that can, account for the base rent that was established as part of that lease agreement. And we were able to work with the Arts Consortium for that to essentially occur as like an automatic withdrawal on each given month. And then we worked with the Arts Consortium to develop a process going forward every month in which they would submit to us basically a sales report on the 5th of every month. We would then review that to determine, based on their sales, whether or not they would owe the city above and beyond that base rent per what was defined in our agreement. Should there be that additional amount owed, we would then create an invoice for the Arts Consortium by the 10th of the month, and then they would turn around and submit payment by the 15th of the month. And so really just kind of setting up meetings and working with staff to establish some processes and setting things up within our software so that can be successful going forward. And then the other element is the kind of the programming partnership piece. That one's a little bit more complex as it relates to how we're setting things up within our software system. But we're continuing to have discussions there. But essentially what that'll really require is for us as the Parks and Recreation Department to be submitting to them a report of all of the programs we partnered on in a given month. And then account for what we would owe the consortium, because ultimately we as the Park and Recreation Department, we're going to be setting up all of those programs in our software system, ActiveNet. And so we'll be taking in all of the registrations. And then per the agreement, we're going to be sharing that revenue by 50%. So we would pay the Arts Consortium their portion of, like I mentioned, it's a little more complex because programs don't always run in a month. Some things run beyond long or so. There's also a situation in which the members of the Arts Consortium have it set up where they receive 10% off of programming. And so we're trying to figure out how to account for that. So lots of good discussions going on. I really appreciate, the staff in our department that have been involved in setting up some of these things on the back end, so that we kind of have that foundation going forward. As far as programming goes, the Arts Consortium has put together the majority of their 2021 events. I don't know if you can see this, but it's basically a kind of like a long bookmark that showcases the different exhibits that they have planned for the gallery portion of it. Currently, right now, it is the Family Connections exhibit that is up on display. That goes through February 27th. And they are planning a reception on February 11th, where they invite some of the artists that have the pieces up in the gallery, and create an event to try to get people to come and observe the art that's up on display. But they've got all the other themes already identified. They've got their 2 art shows that they've done in the past, which is Art Stock, that'll be occurring at Parley Lake Winery, July 10th through 11th. And then they've got their Art Wander, which is a studio tour throughout Carver County. And that's going to occur September 24th through the 26th. They've got some literary events. A lot of those are just happening as virtual events currently, but we'll look to do some more in-person things as the situation allows. Same thing with music. We're wanting to do some events in the theater, but those types of things are still kind of a to be determined. As we continue to navigate COVID. Then they do have their CD release concert planned for sometime in June. Again, location still to be determined, but pretty cool. It's on the bookmark. There's a neat graphic on the back for people to color. And it identifies that their new gift shop is located at the Chaska Community Center now.
How are those being distributed, Marshall?
I think they've got them in their gift shop space. I'm not certain if we have them at our front desk available for members as well, but I could see them handing them out at the various events that they have throughout the year, and we could distribute them to our program participants as we partner on programs too.
Okay.
But if you got other ideas,
How about a stand at the front of the community center,
mhm,
just at the entrance? Because I think
Yeah.
if people are going to take that veer right off downstairs to go down to cardio and weights, the pool, any of that stuff, they're just going to bypass, because if nobody's going to any of the other facilities going down that hall, they probably will just, it looks great because it's so noticeable when you walk in, you see there's something going on there.
Yep.
But I think maybe if there's just a stand that had something up front, and just even that, it sounds, I don't know, what is it, 20 feet from there to the front, but it just, people are going to walk right by it.
Yep. Yeah, we currently have, if you see on our community center Facebook page, we do have a art and bake kit that is available, and that's kind of our first partnership with the Arts Consortium on that one. It's a Sandusky circles and squares art kit, along with some items to bake. It's kind of meant to be a family make and take kit featuring some art and a baking item. So that's exciting. And going forward, Cindy, along with any of the other Arts Consortium staff that she wants to invite, we'll be meeting with our recreation program team on a monthly basis. So that'll really be intended to continue to discuss what are some programs that we can partner on. And as we start getting more of those going, those monthly meetings will be intended to, discuss some of the planning and execution that will need to occur for those particular events, along with, just evaluating the past events that have occurred. So it's still very kind of new in partnership, but as time goes on and we have more meetings with each other, I really look forward to us growing the programs that we're offering, and obviously we still gotta kind of navigate COVID and some of the capacity challenges that are out there, but things are definitely moving along. It's just, this first month has really been kind of a lot of the behind the scenes, setting up the framework for the partnership. Any questions, thoughts, or ideas as it relates to that? All right.
Okay, none. Can we move on to the next 7B, please, Marshall?
Yes, that's the bicycle and pedestrian plan.
Yep.
So the grant agreement that we have with Carver County that was utilizing the statewide health improvement partnership funds was approved by City Council at their January 25th meeting. And so once that occurred, I did go ahead and send out the request for quotes on Friday, January 29th. So that has been sent to 3 consulting groups. One was the Community Design Group. Another one was Hoysinton Kegler. And then the third one was WSB. I've heard from 2 of those entities right away. The Community Design Group, I'm still waiting to hear back. I'm hoping that they got the request and are considering it. I did also hear from Bike MN, who we partnered with in conducting the initial assessment here in Chaska. And they also were suggesting that we submit it to a couple other agencies. So they were looking at passing that along to those 2 agencies to provide a quote as well. That was Alta and Thule, and they have some experience in doing pedestrian and bicycle master plans. So looking ahead, those quotes are due back on March 1st. And so we'll review those quotes, and then I'll be bringing back a recommendation to our park board meeting on March 9th. And from there, really what I anticipate happening is setting up a work session in April where we would invite the selected consultant along with the bicycle friendly community committee that was developed to really kind of kick off that project. Really review what the goals and outcomes are going to be, talk about what the process is going to look like, generally talk about schedules, just so that the park board and the committee is all on the same page and we can kind of hit the ground running. And then from there, we'll be able to come back and provide updates for the park board. And so with that, we're going to definitely want a park board representation on that committee. And so I throw that out there for each of you to think about. I don't think we need to decide that tonight, but I think it'd probably be something we're gonna want to decide at our meeting in March. So we can establish who's gonna serve on that committee to kind of represent the park board with the rest of the committee members.
Hey, quick question.
Yep.
And you might have talked about this once before, but the bike-friendly committee, is that made up of just citizens who volunteered to be on this?
Yeah, good question. So a couple of years ago, we really embarked on this idea of trying to become a bicycle-friendly community.
Right.
And this is essentially a designation that cities can apply for through an application process with a national organization called the League of American Bicyclists. And it's a pretty significant application process. And that was when we really developed this bicycle friendly community committee. It's kind of a mouthful to say.
Gotta be an acronym for that.
Yeah. I think I recall we were gonna consider branding this as like Cycle Chaska. So maybe I'll call it the Cycle Chaska Committee. But it's a committee made up of quite a few city staff. So there's representation in our engineering department, our public works department,
Okay.
our assistant city administrator, our community development director is on it. And then we've got school district representation. We've got representation from the Human Rights Commission, representation from Southwest Southwest Transit, the Downtown Business Alliance, along with Carver County. We had Carver County Public Works and Health and Human Services.
Okay.
And then also Bike MN was helping us out. But
Wow.
we were sort of up to that point missing the resident perspective. And so as we get closer to selecting who this consultant is going to be, we're going to want to put a call out to get some more community representation on there. There is one default community representative on there, and that is Dave Rohn. Since he's left the park board, I know he's expressed interest to continue to be involved in that. So there'll be more opportunity. And then this will also be one where I'll be asking Matt Podorowski to have a discussion with the city council to have a city council representative as part of this committee as well.
Yeah, impressive group.
Yeah, it's a pretty diverse group, but I think that's the real key to making sure that we're getting all the different perspectives as we think about a bikeable and a walkable community and what that's going to look like to help shape that plan.
Yeah, making it an overall plan rather than just bike related. That'll require some additional people on there by itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Marshall, are we still planning to apply to be that bicycle friendly community by I thought it was maybe this summer or next February? I can't recall when exactly you had mentioned before.
Yeah, good question. I think more than likely we're going to be targeting February of next year, just because it's going to occupy a lot of resources just to do this master plan. And it'll be an item that we'll be able to identify in our application as something that we've completed as well, which will help in that designation. Mary and I have had some conversation as of recently, and she's getting a start on just looking at some of the questions within that application that we can just start to account for, like some of the demographic information and things like that. So as we enter into the live application period, we can do that a little bit more efficiently. Because it's like 180 question application. It's quite a bit of content in there.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Anything else on bike and pedestrian master plans? Okay, moving on to 7C, the community center master plan update.
All right. So we talked about this as a group last month in our work session. And so it's good to bring this forward in our regular meeting and, you know, share some more information with the public. But really, the community center is celebrating a benchmark year this year. It's turning 30 years old, specifically on February 19th. So that was the day back in 1991 when the Chaska Community Center was dedicated to the community. And so we're really looking at celebrating, you know, the success of the community center and looking to, you know, thank and honor all of the residents who have been a part of shaping the community center into what it is today. You know, and for it to really be the premier gathering space for the city of Chaska. But as I say that, it is 30 years old, and because of that, it's aging. You know, and there are some upgrades that we need to account for. And just like a lot of people in their homes, you know, over time, you look to see how you might want to do it differently. And, you know, I think that's really the goal here with developing a master plan for the community center is really establishing a new vision and making sure that this facility is continuing to serve the needs and the wishes of the community for the next 30 years. But over time, things change, trends change, you know, and so we want to be able to account for that and look at some possible renovations or additions, or possibly a change in the mix of programming we're providing. You know, really taking a holistic look at what this facility has to offer for the community. So we've started as a staff engaging a consultant, a financial consultant in Baker Tilly. That's a consultant that the city has utilized in the past. And what we're really trying to do is just establish kind of a baseline. So really taking a look at the financials of the community center over the last handful of years. I think we got to look at it kind of pre-COVID and what the trends were, but then also, you know, look at the effect of COVID and kind of our new reality, and really to sort of establish a baseline for this facility. And then also look at, based on that baseline, how does that compare to some other benchmark communities of our size, along with especially communities that have similar type community centers. And this really will provide us a starting point. So once we engage more of a planning and architectural consultant, along with creating a citizen task force, that there's sort of a framework for us to start from. So that as we then take in feedback, we can keep that baseline in perspective, and then understand what that's going to look like if we change things going into the future. And one thing that we'll be looking at as part of that baseline as it relates to the community center is also sort of the makeup of our general fund in our Parks and Recreation department, because a lot of that activity is currently being conducted in the community center budget. And so we want to really take a look at how we can account for what really should be more general fund recreation program activity in a general fund budget versus what is more of a kind of a true community center program or function of the operation that gets accounted for within the community center budget with that enterprise fund. Matt, I know, has shared this with City Council over the past years when talking about budget, but one example I can share with you that he shares is that currently the city of Chaska spends about $30 per capita on Parks and Recreation in the general fund. Whereas the standard for a lot of similar sized cities spends closer to $120 to $130 per capita within their general fund. And so what that's likely saying is that the community center is really sort of carrying a lot of general fund related activity within this enterprise budget. And so that's going to be something that we're going to want to look at and sort of reconsider and redefine as part of this financial analysis with Baker Tilly. And then what does that look like going forward in how we're sort of operating within our department and setting things up budgetarily for staff to kind of make decisions within their areas that they're supervising. So some of that's going to occur right now, and then behind the scenes, I am working on creating the request for proposal. My hope is that I can have that finalized sometime in the March timeframe, and that would be a proposal that we would send out to a variety of planning and architectural consultants that we would look to partner with and work with a citizen task force that we would be developing as part of this process. The citizen task force, same thing, kind of like the Cycle Chaska committee. We'll want to make sure we have really good representation to serve on that committee. So we're likely going to have a couple of city council members serve on that task force. We'll want one person from each of our city commissions. So the Park Board, Planning Commission, and Human Rights Commission. We're going to have our community center manager be a part of it, our recreation program manager. We're going to want somebody from our finance department to serve on it. We're going to want somebody from our maintenance division to serve on it. And then I think from there, we'll be looking at multiple representations from our community center membership and residents of the community. So probably looking at about a 15 person task force somewhere in that neighborhood. And so that task force will really be kind of charged with kind of working with this consultant as we then gather feedback over time to try to help shape what this master plan is going to look like. And so we'll be developing a lot of focus groups where we'll want to sit down and have discussions, with staff in the Parks and Recreation Department, staff from other city departments, to glean information and perspectives from their vantage point. We're going to want to have focus group conversations with the current tenants that lease space within our community center. We're going to want to have focus groups with some of the major users of the community center. So, school district to sports associations, Chaska Family Valley Theater, and then probably also obviously our members, another focus group. And then also looking at how we can, survey and gather feedback just from our community as a whole, as they think about the community center. So it's going to be a complex process, but it's also going to be exciting to see what the ideas are and how that all is going to come together to put together a master plan that we can then have as a guiding document to implement over time. So we did do a kind of a kickoff video that is on Facebook. It's on the community center Facebook page, and I know Kevin Wright, our community center manager, is going to put it up on the Chaska communications page here probably sometime tomorrow. But it's really just introducing this to the community, letting them know that this community center is 30 years old this year. We talk about a one-day promotion we're going to be providing on February 19th coming up. We're going to be doing a 30% off membership sale on our annual memberships. And so that'll occur for that day on the 19th. So you'll see some more promotion around that. And then I really introduced this whole idea of developing a master plan and letting everybody know that there's going to be opportunity for people to, serve on this task force and or for sure submit feedback as part of the process.
Yeah, it
I know
sounds.
that was a lot of information, but I'll
It
throw it
sounds like
back to you.
But it's certainly going to be valuable. No matter how much work you put in, you can't put enough into something like this. And I think you and I were talking about this the other day a little bit. I think you mentioned that the renovation at the one in Plymouth was $40 million that they put into it.
Yep.
And so this could be a significant amount of money for us as well to do some really good things. So I think, I think this is where, Dave Rohn's, dreaming is free, but, the outcome is going to be a hunk of money, but at least we should start the dreaming is what could this be? What would we like it to be 20 years from now?
Mhm.
Like you say, it can be additions and it can be renovations and it can be all kinds of things. So this will be really fun. And as Marshall mentioned, we want to have certainly somebody from the park board participate in this. So that's another thing to think about between now and the near term future to, if you'd like to participate with the, excuse me, with the the planning group on this as well.
Mhm.
Any other comments on this master plan for the community center?
Yeah,
Marshall,
I guess,
go ahead.
I guess, yeah, this is kind of on topic. Has anybody thought of, you had your video yesterday, but for the actual 30th birthday of the community center coming up, anybody thought of like going around the city? I know it's getting close to the date, but doing a happy birthday, like people singing happy birthday to the community center, and it would be, say, the city council and, different people within the city.
That's a great idea.
A video.
It could be
If I remember right, those doors in the front of the community center create somewhat of a wind tunnel. So I bet if we put a cake with candles and open the door, the community center would literally blow the candles out.
I think that whoever put together that holiday video that you guys did about COVID should be in charge of this.
Yeah. That's a good idea, Jason. I'll run it by staff and Kevin. I think that'd be cool. We're always looking for ideas.
Jason, are you wearing a robe, by the way? What is that? Oh, it's just on top that you're wearing a robe.
No robe. No, not tonight. No.
I thought that was classic. But Marshall, I apologize. I think you might have mentioned something about this at that last month's work session, or maybe even tonight yet, but about us being able to be on that group for the master plan for the community center. Are we able to be on that?
Yeah, so we'll definitely look for, one person to really be that representative of the park board to serve on the task force. But then as we get going, we'll be providing updates every month as the park board meets. And we'll really look to whoever is serving on the task force, be that key person to come back and provide updates. And then I can sort of fill in with information as needed, but really an opportunity for, one person on the park board to get a little bit more involved and be a part of those ongoing meetings with the others on the task force and the consultant. So that'll just be something for everybody to think about, and I guess we'll have to come up with a methodology to deciding, if there's multiple people that have an interest in serving on it.
Yeah, because I'd love to be a part of it, but I have a feeling other people do as well. So.
Yep. So we'll come up with how we're going to do that, on the, in the coming months when we need to decide who it is gonna be.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Marshall, I have a question. Perhaps a little naivete with regard to the budget, but you mentioned part of this was really relooking at the monies associated with the general fund versus what the community center spends. And it seems to be a difference between what we spend and other communities spend. If they reconfigure that or adjust that, does that have any implications to the community users or the citizens themselves in terms of increase in taxes or any other impact just by doing that reassessment?
I think what it means, if I can answer part of that, I think what it means is the community center now, they take a look at it and everything that they do and all the costs associated with it, and they say, that community center isn't making any money. And if you separate the costs out that aren't really associated with the community center, one, you can show it as it's being pretty darn profitable. And two, you can use that profitability of that to expand your programs to make it more profitable. So it's not just taking money from Peter to pay Paul. It's allocating it in a way that you can recognize the good things that the community center is doing and use those good things to build on to make it even better.
Mm.
Does that pretty well sum it up, Marshall?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. Another way that our finance director put it is, it's sort of like if we look at it as it is today, the size of the pie is the size of the pie. We're just looking at how we're dividing the slices of that pie. But throughout this process, we may determine that we want that pie to be bigger altogether, and that would be the question: is how does that get funded? And is that through taxes? Is that through our what we see is new revenue potential with different programs? I think there's opportunity for us to be looking at more like sponsorship and advertising that could help out in this process. So a variety of things. And I think, like Dave said, this is a really this neat opportunity to kind of dream and think about how this can look in the future. But we're also going to want to make sure that it's a realistic plan that we can implement. And I know that City Council, one of their desires is going to, really want to make sure that it's still accessible for people, for everybody in our community. And I think it's important for it to be an affordable option.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Anything else on the community center master plan? Okay, let's move on to the item 8, the board reports. Let's go around. Jason, you want to start?
Nothing for me this week. Stay warm, everybody.
Zach, you got anything today?
Just been continue to be really impressed. Speaking of the community center, I've been going in there quite a bit lately, early in the mornings to use the cardio and weight area. But the system for signing up and getting in there the next morning, it's all really seamless and slick, and staff is great. Again, seeing all the staff working the front desk early in the mornings. I saw Zach and Aaron there this morning at like 6 a.m. I don't know. It just cracks me up every time I walk in there and see him there. And I mean, in a good way. It's great to see him there. And it just, again, shows the innovation of what you guys are doing, Marshall. And been going back on Friday nights, taking my girls swimming on Friday nights, and the way that the interior of the pool and using the chlorine now, everything is great. My one big piece of feedback about the pool area continues to be the locker rooms, specifically the family locker room. That was something that historically with my family, we've always had some feedback on, is wanting to make that family locker room area bigger, more, because there's a lot of families that like using it. And it's always, right now it's different because there isn't as much capacity in there. But when the community center is open full tilt, that family locker room is in high demand, and it's tough to get a spot in there sometimes. And
Yeah, I would agree. It's very undersized, and I think that's a perfect example of, how that might look different. As we engage an architect that can look at, how can you move walls and redesign.
yeah, because
things.
it's like the definition of being landlocked where that one spot is, because unless the Breakaway Academy were to move into a different part of the building, it doesn't really feel like there's really a lot of room down there on that level to do anything. And and I don't know, it's just one of those things. I mean, life's what you make of it, right? I get to go with my girls and go swimming on a Friday night, and we have a blast. And we've closed the place down the last 3 Fridays, and literally the lifeguards are like looking at the clocks. I'm like, let's go, Dad. And But we've just, it's so great to get back there again and see everything, and continue to see more and more people. Like last Friday night was the most we've seen for swimmers there on a Friday night. And I think maybe that might have to do with non-members being able to get in now, or something along that lines. But always great staff, always a lot of good things happen at the community center. And I just look forward to getting back open again. And then with this master plan, I think it's just going to take it to a whole new level. I think it's going to be great. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
The Chinese New Year is coming up on Friday, and I know there are take and make kits available at the Chaska Library, and those are available at no cost. So everyone, it's a great craft project for little ones to do. So head to the library and pick them up. I'm also aware that there is a free food distribution in Chaska at the former Gedney factory on Thursday, February 11th from 12 to 1:30 p.m.
That
So
that one got rescheduled.
did it? Okay.
Just so you know, yeah, due to the cold weather.
Okay.
They're looking at the following week, February 18th.
Great. Thank you for that update.
Yep.
The past weekend, my family was able to go and visit the ice gardens down at Fireman's Park in Chaska, and my kids had a blast. It's different ice sculptures, I think, like a princess and Rubble from Paw Patrol. I think it's a statue of Randy Moss back in the day. It was just really fun. And if anyone's worried about social distancing, it was great. Everyone was wearing masks. People were spread out. It's a great way to get out in the community, get some fresh air if you can bear the cold, and feel safe doing it. And the sculptures were awesome. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Georgianne.
Thanks.
Like Zach, I visit the community center mornings for cardio, and I really appreciate the fact that we have to wear masks now, even as we work out, which is really quite irritating because I cannot breathe. But considering the new variant of COVID out and how much more virulent it is, I think it's really important. And so I appreciate the fact that that is a new rule. And as much as I hate to say it, I encourage you to keep it. I'm sure there might be pressure for people who do not like it, but I think to keep us all safe in that shared area, it's really something we need to do. So thank you for that leadership.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I think, we have continuously tried to promote the fact that we're doing everything we can to make it as safe as possible for people to be at the community center. And so we continue to, abide by that governor order. And it's not to say that people aren't perfect, and we do our best to get around and remind people. I think, as time goes on, it is getting harder. I think, people are getting a little more relaxed and with the vaccination that is out there, but you're exactly right. That variant is still there, and it's from what I understand, even more contagious. But yes, we will continue with that until we hear otherwise from the governor. So.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. I just had a couple of comments. One, to remind everybody about the meeting on February 22nd. Hopefully everybody can hang in there and join the call. And I wanted to ask you, Marshall, to thank Brian again. He's the Tony Fauci of the maintenance guys. He's really, really good and very impressive. Every time I'm around him, I feel, more informed.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. You should make sure that he never gets to retire. And that's,
37 years. He's probably looking forward to it eventually.
yeah, it's overblown. That's all I've got, which moves us to the last item on the agenda is an adjournment. Could I have someone make such a motion?
So moved.
Motion, motion moved. Seconded.
Park Board is adjourned. It is 7:55. Thank you.
Have a great
Bye
day,
now.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you all.
Stay
Have a great
well.
night. Jason, great